Now let us continue to our main subject, the 11th hour. This is our special episode number 41, just an hour exposition of the prophecy as the last final warning message, just prior to the close of provision. Now, let's read 2SR 253. It says, "It is not only wonderful to invent a lamp, throwing out a light of such amazing candle power, but it is also astonishing how our God can cancel His marvels from the eyes of wise and prudent men. Then in His own time, He sets them upon high hills, by which He is able to light the pathway of the searcher for truth, and by His glaring power, blindfold the sight of the wicked. Therefore the people that not understand shall fall." Hosea 4 verse 14. "Light is sown for the righteous, and gladness for the upright in heart." Psalms 97 verse 11. So, let us go back again to our main subject. And at this time, let us focus our attention to the 7 universal movements and the 7 universal messages. Let's read 2SR 236. It says, "There are only 5 calls in the parable in Matthew 20. First, those who are called early, Israel out of Egypt. Second, those who went to labor in the vineyard at the 3rd hour, the early Christian church. Third, the 6th-hour call, William Miller and his co-workers. Fourth, the 9th hour call, the 3rd angel in his first cry after 1844. Fifth, the 11th hour call, the loud cry of the 3rd angel's message." So here, brothers and sisters, the 7 universal message enumerated one by one. First, here on 2SR 236, it says, "As number 7 is used in every one of God's finished acts to denote completeness, there must have been 2 such calls before Israel's time. Otherwise, it would show incompleteness in the proclamation of the gospel. And Enoch also, the 7th from Adam, prophesied of this, saying, Behold, the Lord cometh with 10,000s of his saints." Jude 14. As Enoch had a worldwide message of the coming of the Lord, his message is the first call. Noah's call is the second from creation. Therefore, 7 in all, meaning perfect, finished, the end of the gospel. So there are 7 worldwide messages. There will be no more question. The first worldwide message, the message of Enoch. The second, the message of Noah. Please follow what I am saying. The 7 worldwide message. I think that is the exact word used by the Champer's Rod. The 7 worldwide message. Number 1, Enoch. Second, Noah. Third, Moses, or the first call on Matthew 20. Fourth, the Apostolic Church. Fifth, the Millerites movement. But how about the 6th worldwide message? What is the 6th worldwide message? The 7th worldwide message is the 11th hour message. So, I would like to repeat again. What is the 6th worldwide message? Because there are 7 worldwide messages according to 2SR 236. The statement in 2SR 236, the 6th worldwide message is the 9th hour call. And it says, the 3rd angel in his first cry after 1844. That is the 4th worldwide message in Matthew 20, during daylight. But Bitihotep included the night time. There are 2 worldwide messages. Because there are only 5. There are only 5 worldwide messages in Matthew 20. And to make it number 7, there must be 2 prior to the first call. And that is Enoch and Noah, according to 2SR 236. So the 6th worldwide message is the 9th hour call. The 3rd angel in his first cry after 1844. Now, my question is that, what message in the 9th hour call by which it is worldwide message? So I would like to repeat again. Concerning the subject, 7 worldwide message or worldwide messages, I think the most controversial is the 6th or the 4th. It is 4th when we will be talking only Matthew 20, the daylight. But if we will include the nighttime, it would be the 6th. The 6th worldwide message. That is the statement, right? In 2SR 236. And the admonition is that we should not give up the scripture truth. Here in 2SR, I would like to read concerning the term worldwide, 2SR on page 54. So let's read the statement. Page 54 in 2SR. it says, just to focus on the last part, that number 4 represent completeness of direction. So, that is the statement here in 2SR page 54. There are 4 regions of the earth, east, north, south, and west, which expressive of the completeness of direction. Likewise, winter, spring, summer, and autumn covers a complete circle of the seasons. We have already observed that there were 4 universal empires in the history of the world from creation to the crucifixion. We may also note the fact in connection with this subject that there is a combination of the threefold with the fourfold, as clearly seen in the work of creation, in which the first 4 days were employed in forming the sphere, and the remaining 3 in the creation of the living creatures, and culminating in a Sabbath rest. It says, the 4th day saw the material substance of creation finished, and on the 5th and 6th day was the peopling of the earth. In the book of Revelation, under the head of the 7 seals, we observed that the first 4 seals were clearly separated from the last 3 by the symbols of 4 horses. Thus it appeared that the fourfold measure in its case precedes the threefold, just as in creation, order, its division culminating in the 7 of perfection. For this reason, there are 4 sections in the great image of Daniel 2, 4 beasts in Daniel's vision, 4 wings and 4 heads on the leopard, with whom the numbers in that fashion cease. That it is evident that the Old Testament closed with a symbolic number 4, the leopard beast, showing that all the necessary provision for the salvation of the human family was completed under the dispensation of this prominent number 4, as it terminated about the time of the crucifixion. Thus, this number is used in connection with incidences to signify earthwide. 2SR page 54, or earthwide or worldwide. Now, let's go back again to our question. What is the 4th worldwide message? Or what is the 6th worldwide message? It is the 9th hour call. Is it the message of the Seventh-day Adventist Church? Now, let us read the statement in 2TG. 2TG number 15, page 6. And he said unto me, Thou must prophesy again before many peoples and nations and tongues and kings. It says, after the disappointment, they were commanded to prophesy again. That is, again to proclaim the cleansing of the sanctuary. This work they were to do among many peoples, nations, tongues, and kings. Obviously, not to all. So that is very plain. The divine commission that was given by God to the Seventh-day Adventist Church is to preach the gospel to many nations, many peoples, many tongues, and many kings. Obviously, not to all. Therefore, the message that was entrusted by God to the Seventh-day Adventist Church could not be a worldwide message because it does not reach to all nations. Now, here's another statement that I would like to read in White House Recruiter, page 22 and page 23. The next decisive point of truth is that the judgment of the dead was to be proclaimed to many peoples and nations and tongues and kings. What is the message of the judgment of the dead? It is to be proclaimed to many peoples and nations and tongues and kings. And that is the only message that was entrusted by God to the Seventh-day Adventist Church, the judgment that pertains to the dead. And it says, mark the word many, it never means all, and never means every. Since this verse of Scripture foretells the expansion of the 9th hour group and message, it will highly repay each one carefully to examine what Revelation 10 verse 11 says on the subject. You dare not add to the word, nor subtract from it. Then compare it with the Scriptures to follow, foretelling the expansion of the 11th hour group and message, and you will have the whole truth in reference to the finishing of the work. White House Recruiter, page 22 and page 23. I think those 2 passages are sufficient enough to portray that the message that was entrusted by God to the Seventh-day Adventist Church is not a worldwide message. But the Seventh-day Adventist Church is a worldwide movement. So the Seventh-day Adventist Church is a worldwide movement, but his message is not worldwide. It will only go to many nations, many peoples, many tongues. Therefore, we can easily understand, brothers and sisters, that during the 9th hour group, what is the 9th hour group? The period of the judgment that pertains to the dead. Now, I would like to read to you White House Recruiter. It says, let me see if I could find that statement. The shepherd's rod plainly told us, brethren, that the 11th hour message came at the 9th hour in the period of the 9th hour group. I would like to find that statement. I think that is in White House Recruiter. Page 16. It says, this 2-hour period, from the 9th hour to the 11th hour, remember, it says 2-hour period. I think it is not difficult to understand. The statement is very plain. For example, so this is the 11th hour. Then this is the 9th hour. But it says 2-hour period. Then, logically, the second period must be the 10th hour. We have the 9th hour, 10th hour, and the 11th hour. So, let us distinctly separate the message of the 9th hour message, and the message on the 10th hour, and then the message on the 11th hour. So, let us read White House Recruiter, page 16. White House Recruiter, page 16. This 2-hour period, from the 9th hour to the 11th hour, is a singularity which comes as a climactic exception to the master pattern of sequential and regular 3-hour intervals between calls. It obviously reveals that the last call comes unexpectedly and surprisingly within the period of the 9th hour group. Hence, there are only 2 parabolical hours for the one group and only 1 parabolical hour for the other group. White House Recruiter, page 16. Now, first of all, I would like to re-emphasize again the statement on track number 3, page 65, saying, do not regard lightly the wisdom of God. His illustrations are perfect. And it says in 1 SR 232, as God is infallible, His work is spell perfection, even to 1 jot or 1 tittle. And the shepherd's rod admonishes us in 2 TG 24:23, saying, let us be God's real people, logical thinkers, and not bait hunters. If Christ's illustrations are perfect, brothers and sisters, which would be longer, 2 hours or 1 hour? That is a very simple question. Of course, the 2 hours must be longer than the 1 hour. The 1 hour is shorter than the 2 hours. And not only that, the shepherd's rod plainly told us that the 11th hour call is the shortest. So I would like to read again the statement in 2SR 237. 229 rather. 229. The 11th hour call. The 11th hour call. The 11th hour call is the last on record, and only an hour before sunset millennium. The time for its deliverance to the world is shorter than any universal message ever given. What is the message of the 11th hour? Universal. What is the message of the 11th hour? I would like to read first in White House Recruiter on page 21. Let us read. White House Recruiter on page 21. It says, now that for the first time, the parable is ablaze with light. None but the eye that is hopelessly gone out in dungeon darkness can fail to see distinctly that the message with which we Seventh-day Adventists were entrusted in 1844 at the 9th hour is not the 11th hour message, not the message of the judgment of the living, but rather only of the judgment of the dead. What is the 11th hour message? The message of the judgment of the living. That is the 11th hour message. What is the 9th hour message? The judgment that pertains to the dead. Is it a universal message? No, it will be proclaimed only to many nations. According to White House Recruiter, page 22, saying the next decisive point of truth is that the judgment of the dead was to be proclaimed to many peoples and nations and tongues and kings. Revelation 10 verse 11. Mark the word many, it never means all and never means every. Where we could find the statement, preach the gospel to all nations, to all people, kindred, tongues, and nations. That is Revelation 14 verse 6 and 7. Therefore, Revelation 14 verse 6 and 7 is applied to the dead only indirectly. The direct application must be in the judgment that pertains to the living, as is stated in White House Recruiter, page 39. Now, I would like to go back first to our reading in 2SR page 229. It says, the 11th hour call is the last on record and only an hour before sunset millennium. The time for its deliverance to the world is shorter than any universal message ever given. How many universal messages? Only 7. There must be 7 universal messages, 7 worldwide messages. Now, brothers and sisters, if we could be able to ascertain clearly the 7 universal messages, then all our confusion will be completely cleared. What is the first universal message? The message of Enoch. So, there is no dispute to that absolute fact. What is the second universal message or worldwide message? Noah. The third, Moses. The fourth, apostles. The fifth, Millerites. How about the sixth? Is it the message that was entrusted to the Seventh-day Adventist Church? No. It is contradictory to the Bible. The message that was entrusted by God to the Seventh-day Adventist Church is to be preached only to many nations, to many people, many tongues, many kings. Obviously, not to all. So what is the message by which it is a universal? Only the judgment of the living, not the judgment of the dead. And the message that was entrusted by God to the Seventh-day Adventist Church is only the judgment that pertains to the dead, and it does not even touch the message of the judgment of the living, which is the great and dreadful day of the Lord. Now, I would like to read again, General Conference Special, page 39. The judgment for the dead, furthermore, is not the message of the great and dreadful day. It does not even touch on the prophecies of the great and dreadful day of the Lord. And what is the judgment that pertains to the dead? Is such message to be proclaimed to all nations? No, only to many nations. Revelation 10:11, as explained by the Shepherd's Rod in White House Recruiter, page 22. What is the message to be proclaimed to all nations, all people, all tongues, all kings? The judgment of the living. What is the judgment of the living? The 11th hour message. Thus, God gave to B.T. Hotep the message pertaining to the judgment of the living? Yes, God gave to B.T. Hotep the message of the judgment of the living. Therefore, brothers and sisters, if we will enumerate the 7 universal messages through the explanation given by the Shepherd's Rod, it must be the first one is the message of Enoch. The second, the message of Noah. The third, the message of Moses. The fourth, the message of the apostles. The fifth, the message of Miller. The sixth, the message of B.T. Hotep. Not the message of Sister White, but there are 7 universal messages. The message that was delivered by B.T. Hotep is the 6th universal message. Now, I would like to read 2SR 230 and 231. What is the message? The 11th hour message is none other than Revelation 18, the loud cry of the third angel. What is the 11th hour message? None other than Revelation 18. So let us now focus our attention to Revelation 18. Because the answer is, what is the message? What is the message of the 11th hour? The 11th hour message is none other than Revelation 18, the loud cry of the third angel. Now let us read the Old Symbolic Code. Old Symbolic Code. 1 Symbolic Code, number 6, page 10. 1 Symbolic Code, number 6, page 10. It says, concerning the angel of Revelation 18, verse 1, 1 Symbolic Code, number 6, page 10. Concerning the angel of Revelation 18:1, with whose glory the earth is to be lightened, we do not claim to have as yet all his light. That is the testimony of the prophet. What is the 11th hour message? The 11th hour message is none other than Revelation chapter 18. Now the Shepherd's Rod says here in 1 Symbolic Code, number 6, page 10, that concerning the angel of Revelation 18, verse 1, with whose glory the earth is to be lightened, we do not claim to have as yet all his light, nor do we believe that the earth is at the present time, is at present lightened with his glory. But we do maintain that a large part of that light has already been revealed, and that as soon as the 144,000 are sealed, and the church is purified by the separation of the sinners from the midst thereof, by the men with slaughter weapons as described in Ezekiel's vision, the earth will then be lightened, the earth will then be lightened as the 144,000 go forth proclaiming the message to all nations. Isaiah 66, verse 19 and verse 20. Who will proclaim the message to all nations? The 144,000. Now, brothers and sisters, what is the message of the 11th hour? Let us connect all the statement in the Shepherd's Rod. Now, I would like to repeat again. What is the message of the 11th hour? If the answer is found in White House Recruiter, page 21, the answer must be, the 11th hour message is the judgment of the living. White House Recruiter, page 21. Now, but if we will go to Jezreel letter, number 1, page 4. Let's read. Jezreel letter, number 1, page 4. It says, for some time now, you have had the 11th hour publications, 11th hour publication, tracts, and timely greetings. Or in other words, what is the 11th hour publications? The shepherd's rod. So what is the direct answer of the question? What is the 11th hour message? The message recorded in the shepherd's rod. That is the 11th hour message. There is no 12th hour message. The last message is the 11th hour. Therefore, there will be no more publications. The last and the final publications sent by God to this world is the shepherd's rod. That is the absolute fact. But the question is that, does all the light pertaining to the 11th hour message had been understood by B.T. Hotep? Ponder deeply, brothers and sisters. What is the 11th hour message? According to 2SR 230 and 231. The 11th hour message is none other than Revelation 18. Concerning Revelation 18, does B.T. Hotep declared that he has already the light concerning the angel of Revelation 18? You cannot read such statement. Contradictory to the declaration of the prophet. He himself declared in 1 Symbolic Code, number 6, page 10, concerning the angel of Revelation 18, verse 1, with whose glory the earth is to be lightened. We do not claim to have as yet all his light. We do not claim. What does it mean? It's easy to understand that although B.T. Hotep is the writer of the shepherd's rod, it is not called the rod of B.T. Hotep. It is called the rod of God. Exodus 4, verse 20 and 21. B.T. Hotep is only God's penman to write the rod of God, the message of the shepherd's rod, plainly indicating that part of the 11th hour message had been proclaimed by B.T. Hotep, but not all that pertained unto it had been understood by B.T. Hotep. Now, the statement here in 1 Symbolic Code number 6, page 10, let us read. 1 Symbolic Code number 6, page 10. Are we giving the 11th hour message now, or will it not be given until after the fulfillment of Ezekiel 9? Has the angel that is to lighten the earth with his glory, early writings, page 277, already come? If the questioner will consult the chart on page 224 of volume 2 of the shepherd's rod, he will observe that the angels, plural, the angels of Revelation 7 and 18 are represented as coming at the 11th hour. And as we are in the sealing time, it proves that we are now in the 11th hour. Now, ponder deeply this statement, brothers and sisters. To repeat again, the only trouble is that we do not distinctly separate the expectation of the prophet and the teaching of the prophet. What is the teaching of the prophet? In this paragraph, the teaching of the prophet plainly telling us that the 11th hour commence, or the commencement of the 11th hour is the commencement of the sealing of the 144,000 living saints. Does the sealing of the 144,000 commence in 1930? That is the false expectation of B.T. Hotep. But he himself declared, but if the time will come, by the unrolling of the scroll, whatever our false expectation, our false applications, it must be given up as fast as possible. 7 Symbolic Code, 7 to 12, page 19. Brothers and sisters, when does the sealing of the 144,000 will occur? Now, I would like to read track number 5, page 74. Track number 5, page 74. It will be noted that the 144,000 are called the first fruits, denoting that they are sealed at the beginning of the harvest. When does the 144,000 are sealed? At the beginning of the harvest. Of course, that is the harvest of the living, because it pertains to the 144,000. The shepherd's rod declared clearly in answerer number 2, page 36, it says, it shows that the harvest is a period of time having a beginning and ending, and that during its time, men are saved. The entire period of the harvest is divided into 2 sections. The first section is called the beginning. The second section is called ending. But in these 2 sections, it is provisionary time, because it says, during its time, men are saved. The word beginning and ending is verb in ing form, a gerund indicating progressive. When does the 144,000 will be sealed? At the ending? No. It says, track number 5, page 74, denoting that they are sealed at the beginning of the harvest. Now, the statement declared clearly in track number 3 on page 65, it says, and though harvest time is the shortest of all the periods. Track number 3. Page 65. What is the harvest? The shortest of all the periods. The word shortest is an adjective in superlative degree. We explained several times that adjective has 3 degrees of comparison. The first degree is positive. The second degree is comparative. The third degree is superlative degree. The positive degree is short. The comparative degree is shorter. But shortest is a superlative degree used to compare at least 3 or more than 3 objects. But in this study, there are only 3 periods: sowing, growing, and harvest. And according to track number 3, page 65, in these 3 periods, the harvest is the shortest of all the periods. Now, let us read track number 3, page 58. It says, the 3.5 years from the beginning of Christ's ministry to His crucifixion being the sowing time. How many years the sowing time? 3.5 years. Very plain. If the harvest is the shortest, therefore, the harvest must be less than 3.5 years. It could not be 3.5 years because in that point, then we are saying that the sowing time and the harvest are equal. Then you cannot say that the harvest is the shortest. Let us not give up the scriptural truth. The scriptural truth plainly telling us that the harvest is the shortest of all the periods. And since sowing period consists only 3.5 years, therefore the harvest must be shorter than 3.5 years. And the sealing of the 144,000, brothers and sisters, the sealing of the 144,000, according to the shepherd's rod, will be at the beginning of the harvest. The harvest itself, the entire period must be shorter than 3.5 years. How much more the sealing of the 144,000? It is only a part of the harvest. The first part, which is the beginning, because the second part is the ending. And in track number 5, page 88, it says here, and finally, the only revelation pertaining to and coming at a year and preparing the 4 angels for to slay the third part of men is, says the Lord, the year of my redeemed. Isaiah 63 verse 4. And this year at which His people are redeemed is, of course, the time of the sealing and of the deliverance of the 144,000. So in that reading, we can easily discern that the sealing of the 144,000 will be only one specific year, the year of my redeemed. That is the sealing of the 144,000. So both the harvest and the 11th hour, the description is shortest. So the 11th hour period is the shortest of all the periods. The 7 universal movements and 7 universal messages, the movement and the period of the proclamation of the message of the 11th hour is the shortest. What is the 11th hour period? The period of the judgment of the living. So the message that was proclaimed by B.T. Hotep is the message, it is a part of the 11th hour message that had been proclaimed in the period of the judgment that pertains to the dead. Let us distinctly separate the 11th hour message to be proclaimed in the period of the judgment that pertains to the living. B.T. Hotep died prior to the event. Now let us follow the instruction given in 1 Symbolic Code, number 6, page 10. It says, if the questioner will consult the chart on page 224, this is the chart on page 224. So let us now see the chart on page 224. That is concerning Matthew 20. So let us look at. The important is the angels. We cannot see the 2 angels. Since the shepherd's rod admonishes us to look at the chart. So that is the chart on 2SR page 224. If you look at the chart, there are 5 angels there. The 3 angels are flying. Then we have Revelation 7 and then we have Revelation 18. Angels represent messengers. Now let me read to you the statement in 2SR. Old Symbolic Code rather. 2 Symbolic Code, number 12, page 6. 2 Symbolic Code, number 12, page 6. Wait till light comes. So to those who consult the chart on page 224, this is the statement. 2 Symbolic Code, number 12, page 6. Question number 133. After having well established as fact that the 5 angels of Revelation 14 represent 5 distinct messages prior to the close of provision, why does a word to the little flock, page 11, go on to say that the last 2 angels are messages of prayer? Answer, we do not know why the thought of prayer is brought in, but the following statement, we shall no doubt better understand them at the time they are fulfilled, shows that they had but little light on the subject. Now let us focus our attention to Revelation 7 and Revelation chapter 18. Let us compare the chart on page 224 and the chart concerning the 7 seals. So the chart, the investigative judgment and the 7 seals. So let us look at that chart. So you can see the angel on the date 1929, then it must be Bethel, because there is no other messenger that came in 1929. But look at the angel that stand on the 2 worlds. What is that 2 worlds? The world represented by the earth and the world represented by the sea. You see, brothers and sisters, and his wings had been spread, and it could not be Bethel. Even the chart would tell us. And also the truth and the horse underfoot, the same. So the chart, the truth, and the horse underfoot, Daniel chapter 8. So let us look at that chart. Still, in that chart, brothers and sisters, you can easily see that the angel on Revelation 7 and the angel on Revelation 18 are different angels. Now let us go to answerer number 4. Answerer number 4 on page 33 and page 34. What is the difference between come and coming? So there must be difference between come and coming. So let us go to the Old Symbolic Code. To re-emphasize again, it says, 1 Symbolic Code, number 6, page 10. It says, if the questioner will consult the chart on page 224 of volume 2 of the Shepherd's Rod, he will observe that the angels of Revelation 7 and 18 are represented as coming at the 11th hour. Coming, what? At the 11th hour. Coming. These 2 angels, the angel on Revelation 7 and the angel on Revelation 18, coming at the 11th hour. But what is the difference between come and coming? Now let us read. Answerer number 4, page 33. Question number 91. In the Shepherd's Rod, volume 1, page 20, the point is made that John saw the angel of Revelation 18 not coming. So what is the description of Revelation 18? Not coming. So what are the angels which is coming at the 11th hour? It cannot be the angel on Revelation 18. Because the angel of Revelation 18, it says not coming. So let us read again. In the Shepherd's Rod, volume 1, page 2, the point is made that John saw the angel of Revelation 18 not coming, not in flight, on his way down, but come down. That is already arrived. But in plain English, come down means descend. And Sister White says, as he descended, how therefore can the rod rightly lay stress upon the thought that John saw him already come, already arrived? Answer. So this is the answer given by the Shepherd's Rod. When something of high velocity, such as a bullet or a bolt of lightning, is coming on, its high rate of travel does not give an observer time to view the continuity of its onward progress. It's coming. He is able to behold it only when it is finally arrived, come. Thus the fact that the angel of Revelation 18:1 is seen not coming, as is the angel of Revelation 7 verse 2, but come, signifies that he comes suddenly like the angel of Daniel 9:21. What is the angel in Revelation 7 verse 2? Ascending. Therefore, Bethel gives stress that the messenger on Revelation 7, there is enough time to the beholder to observe his coming. What does it mean? The prediction of that messenger is specifically given in the writings of Sister White. It says, from 1890, 40 years from that date, God will send messenger. 1890 plus 40, 1930. So there is enough time given to the beholder to behold the coming of the messenger, because there is a specific appointed time. But Revelation 18 verse 1, suddenly come. John did not say the angel on Revelation 18. He did not say ascending. He did not say descending. If John says, I saw an angel descending, then there is enough time to observe the coming of the angel. But it says, the angel immediately comes, suddenly comes. Let's read the Bible. It says, Revelation 18 verse 1, and after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven. It did not say descend, but come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. Now let us read the statement in answerer number 4, page 33 and page 34. It says, when something of high velocity, such as a bullet or a bolt of lightning is coming on, its high rate of travel does not give an observer time to view the continuity of its onward progress, it's coming. So the beholder, the velocity, it was illustrated in a speed of a lightning. No one can say that, for example, literally, you will say, there must be lightning 3 minutes from now. No. No one can behold, brothers and sisters, the coming of lightning. When the lightning came, you immediately say, oh, there is lightning. Immediately come. That is the illustration of the messenger on Revelation 18 verse 1. It says, he is able to behold it only when it is finally arrived. Come. Thus the fact that the angel of Revelation 18 verse 1 is seen not coming, as is the angel of Revelation 7 verse 2. Who is the messenger on Revelation 7 verse 2? B.T. Hother. It is coming. When the prophet predicted from 1890 saying 40 years from that date, God would raise up messenger. So it was coming. 40 years, 1930, the messenger arrived. But the messenger on Revelation 18:1, it says, but comes signifies that he comes suddenly like the angel of Daniel 9, verse 21. By contrast, in beholding the approach of an object such as the sun, an observer is well able to keep steadily in view the continuity of its ascending. Accordingly, the rod observes that the angel of Revelation 7, verse 2 was seen while yet afar off, ascending from the east, because he was coming slowly like the sun. Whereas the angel of Revelation 18 verse 1 was seen suddenly come, because the terrific momentum of his downward flight did not allow enough time for the human eye to see him coming. This contradistinction between the speed of the two angels, because of the different significance of each, is the point of stress. Answerer number 4, page 33 and page 34. Brethren, the messenger of Revelation 7, it is B.T. Hotep. To repeat again, there is no dispute to the fact that the messenger of Revelation 7 points out to B.T. Hotep. But Revelation 7 itself, if you will read carefully, it says here on verse 3, Revelation 7 verse 3, saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed, it says here, till we have sealed the servants of our God in their foreheads. The scripture is inscribed in plural form. We, concerning the literal angel, or the man with the writer inkhorn by his side, we know that there is only one angel. One among the 6 angels on Ezekiel 9 is the one who will seal the 144,000. But why is it that the scripture inscribed in plural form? Till we have sealed the servants of our God. Plainly indicating that Revelation 7, verse 3, brothers and sisters, includes as well the message or the messenger, the present truth under the 7th seal. But what we are trying to explain is that B.T. Hotep never claimed that he was the messenger of Revelation 18. But rather, B.T. Hotep declared that some of the message of Revelation 18 was also given to B.T. Hotep. What is the message of Revelation 18? The 11th hour message. What is the 11th hour message? The judgment of the living. What is the judgment of the living? The Shepherd's Rod publications. Logically, some of the message of the 11th hour was given by God to B.T. Hotep. But that is the proclamation of the judgment of the living in the period of the judgment of the dead. That is why the Shepherd's Rod told us here in Answerer number 1, page 82. Answerer number 1, page 82. There must be a marked difference between the voice of the message before the loud cry and the voice of the message in the loud cry. Otherwise, it would not be called loud. So the message that had been proclaimed by B.T. Hotep, that is the voice of the 11th hour message before the loud cry. So let us distinctly separate the voice of the message in the loud cry. So there are 2 proclamations of the 11th hour message. the proclamation of the 11th hour message before the loud cry and the proclamation of the 11th hour message in the loud cry. Sometimes, when we talk about loud cry, immediately we jump to the conclusion that it is pertaining to the loud cry to the great multitude. But the shepherd's rod made it so plain. In tract number 1, page 20, it says, since the purification or the sealing came at the commencement of the loud cry, as we have already seen, the 144,000 are therefore the first fruits, the first to be sealed. Tract number 1, page 20. So that is very plain. Loud cry proclamation is the judgment that pertains to the living. And even the statement in 2SR 230 and 231, it says, what is the message? 2SR 230 and 231. What is the message? The 11th hour message is none other than Revelation 18, the loud cry of the third angel. So the 11th hour message is even more specifically directed to the loud cry of the third angel. Does B.T. Hotep proclaim the 11th hour message? Yes. What is the 11th hour message? Judgment of the living. But that is the voice of the message before the loud cry. Answerer number 1, page 82. The message that was proclaimed by B.T. Hotep is the voice of the message of the 11th hour message before the loud cry. Or in other words, before the judgment of the living, before the period of the judgment of the living. And that is why it is called pre-11th hour. His message is 11th hour message proclaimed before the 11th hour period. Because the 11th hour message is the judgment of the living. And the message that was proclaimed by B.T. Hotep is judgment of the living. But it was not completed in the period of the judgment that pertains to the dead. The statement is very plain. In White House Recruiter, page 34, it says, with the completed judgment message during the 11th hour. During the 11th hour? Let us distinctly separate during the 9th hour. What is the 9th hour? Judgment of the dead. B.T. Hotep died in the period of the 9th hour, which is the judgment that pertains to the dead. Here in Answerer number 2, page 93, it says, although we are still in the time of the judgment of the dead. And it was written 1944. Answerer number 2, page 93. Although we are still in the time of the judgment of the dead. In tract number 3, page 43, it says, the investigative judgment of the living is obviously yet future. We'll continue the subject, brethren, and to repeat again, the 11th hour message is divided into 2 sections. The voice of the message before the loud cry. That is the message of B.T. Hotep. And the voice of the message in the loud cry. What is the loud cry? The period of the judgment of the living. The sealing of the 144,000 living saints according to tract number 1, page 20. So, hoping, brethren, God is helping us to comprehend this very important subject. Thank you very much for listening and viewing this program. May the good Lord bless you and have a beautiful, wonderful evening.